What even is this timeline? Like, seriously, what the hell is this? I was wrapping up a script regarding J.K. Rowling, Graham Linehan, and Kemi Badnoch targeting David Tennant for having the integrity to stand up for his trans child, when news broke of a recently rediscovered interview in which J.K. Rowling describes the kidnapping and rape of a 12-year-old girl as a, quote, great and tragic love story, end quote. We need to talk about this, as there's just so much to say. But first, a quick content warning for the following: transmisia, child abuse, and sexual abuse. If you like our work and appreciate the research put into each video, please consider supporting the channel via Patreon. You can also support us by liking, commenting, and sharing our work on social media. I'd also just like to take this time to remind our viewers that the statements made throughout our videos are the opinions of myself, the host, based on the evidence I have available to me. They are not and should not be taken as unquestionable fact, which is why we reference everything, because we're valuable. Thus we try to give you, the viewer, the ability to check all evidence yourself in order to make up your own mind, which is what the reference numbers in the top left corner are for, being numbers that match up with the reference list found in the transcript linked down below. As such, we encourage all viewers to do their own research to reach an informed conclusion about the topic. So today's topic was brought to my attention by a post made by Suze Kempner in which she stated that, quote, J.K. Rowling doesn't understand Lolita. It is not a great and tragic love story, it is a terrifying book written from the point of view of a paedophile, a very obviously unreliable narrator, and at no point are you meant to say, this is so romantic. She's 12, Joanne. What the fuck, Joanne? End quote. Below which, Sue shares a screenshot of some text, which reads, quote, there are two books whose final lines make me cry without fail, irrespective of how many times I read them, and one is Lolita. There is so much I could say about this book. There just isn't enough time to discuss how a plot that could have been the most worthless pornography becomes, in Nabokov's hands, a great and tragic love story. And I could exhaust my reservoir of superlatives trying to describe the quality of the writing. End quote. Emphasis added by me. Now, to begin with, I assume this to be satire. Suze is a comedian, everybody knows that Lolita is a child abuse story written from the perspective of an unreliable narrator. Surely there's no way someone, not even J.K. Rowling, as incredulous as she may be, would say something so monumentally grotesque. At least I did think that until I found an archive copy of the quote. You see, it had been given as part of a 2000 interview on Radio 4, and the section in question was later picked up and reported on in the Sunday Herald. And it is that Sunday Herald article which has subsequently been preserved on ASIO Quote, a website created by Harry Potter fans to keep track of Rowling's exploits and appearances. That's right, the quote is genuine, archived by Rowling's own fans. J.K. Rowling read a story about a grown man kidnapping and raping a 12-year-old girl before going on Radio 4 to describe it as a, quote, great and tragic love story, end quote. Rowling can scarcely help herself gushing about the writing and just how much it moves her, clearly not realizing that most people, when they read that story, read it as a horror story in which a sexual predator attempts to win the audience over in justifying the unjustifiable. All nuance seems lost on Rowling, who doesn't see child abuse, but a, quote, great and tragic love story, end quote. There is no love to child rape, and it's shocking that I have to say that, or at least it would be, were I not knowledgeable about the gender-critical movement, specifically its perception and treatment of trans men as naive girls, and perhaps more importantly to this subject, a sexual resource. What is it that J.K. Rowling's close and personal friend Alison Bailey said regarding trans boys receiving gender-affirming care?
Up and down the country and around the world, girls are removing breasts that have never known a lover's caress.
This, of course, ignores the fact that puberty blockers prevent breast growth and that only adults receive gender-affirming surgery, but you get the point. Gender-critical fascists view trans boys as a sexual resource that they and their peers are being denied access to. Something that, I would argue, is entirely in line with Rowling's promotion of Lolita as a, quote, great and tragic love story, end quote. By the way, if you'd like to know more about gender-critical fascism, I recently did a deep dive into said ideology, including the previous clip, in our video exposing the dangers of anti-trans fascism regarding the Cass Review and Labour's downfall, so I suggest checking that out. Again, all of our videos are fully referenced so that you can always check the evidence for yourself. But bringing this back to J.K. Rowling, it is very telling how she has presented herself as the safeguard for children from trans women, who Rowling treats as if they're all sexual predators, yet here she is, openly glorifying a story about the rape of a 12-year-old girl as a, quote, great and tragic love story. And yes, I will keep repeating that quote, because there is no context in which that is an appropriate way to describe such content. I say that as someone who was raped as a 6-year-old child. This isn't theoretical. This isn't a story to me. This is my standpoint, my lived experience, something I spent years in therapy for. And it's not like Rowling can claim ignorance as to the contents of Lolita, since she's the one promoting herself as the fan. Someone who, in her own words, can't help but cry every time she reads its closing line, meaning she's read it at least twice, if not more. So she's really backed herself into a corner here. What's shocking to me about all this is how, as late as 2017, people have talked about Lolita's influence on the Harry Potter series, right down to its naming convention. So it's a little surprising that this information was forgotten for so long, but hey, we have it now. Sadly, I have no doubt that Rowling will begin threatening people for reporting on her comments, but that's no reason to let her bury this. If nothing else, these quotes show that her pretense to care about victims is just that, a pretense. Though again, this shouldn't come as a surprise, considering her public support for known domestic abusers and sexual predators, including Marilyn Manson and Johnny Depp. All we can do is keep chipping away, keep showing people what she is, and hope that people start to listen. This can't carry on forever. J.K. Rowling will do something, eventually, that causes her inevitable downfall. It's only a matter of time. Though, what do you think? What are your thoughts about Rowling's gushings regarding Lolita? Can you think of any other evidence of gender-critical fascists treating young girls, or those they perceive as young girls, as a sexual resource? How do you think Rowling will react to this information resurfacing? Did you notice something I missed? If so, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And if you appreciate what we do here and want to help out, please consider becoming one of our wonderful patrons who make our work possible. On that note, we'd just like to thank the following people: Matthew Kovac, Hannah Banghart, Gert Van Vorst, Goddess Lolita, Marble Wings, Sosh Daniels, Flynn, Higgins Siegel, and Ocean on a Teaspoon. And for myself, Adita and Levi, take care now.